The ultimatum came through a crackling broadcast that hijacked every satellite, every screen, and every radio frequency on Earth. Humans, you have enjoyed an era of unsanctioned independence. This is over. The voice was deep, resonant, and human. It belonged to a representative of the Zalnoth Dominion, a vast ancient empire that had absorbed entire civilizations into its fold without resistance. Their fleets darkened skies, their soldiers turned planets into obedient colonies, and their demands were always met with terrified compliance. You will transfer 80% of your planet's resources, technological data, and all military assets to the Dominion. Refusal is not an option. You have 7 days to comply. The message ended with a still image of the Zalnoth fleet, thousands of dagger-shaped warships, bristling with weaponry, positioned just outside the solar system. A promise of annihilation. Most species would have folded immediately. But this was Earth. And humans? Humans didn't respond to threats the way the Zalnoth expected. The Council meets chaos. In an underground military bunker, Earth's leaders gathered for an emergency response. Tension choked the air. Screens projected the fleet's position, each warship glowing like an ominous red eye. President Vasquez of the United Earth Coalition broke the silence first. So, anyone actually scared? General Carter leaned forward. If we had about 5 more years, I might be worried. Right now? I just feel annoyed. A ripple of nods spread across the table. Dr. Amanda Reese, head of Earth's technological advancements, scoffed. They didn't even bother to ask if we were willing to negotiate. Just came in with, do this or die. Arrogant bastards. Typical Galactic Empire nonsense, someone muttered. A weary admiral adjusted his glasses. We should at least discuss how we want to respond. The doors burst open and a heavily armed, half-drunk man in civilian clothing stomped in, waving a beer bottle. Respond? I'll tell you how we respond. The man's voice was rough, seasoned, unshaken. A veteran. Someone who had seen too much war to be impressed by a mere invasion threat. It was Noah Briggs, former Special Forces, unofficial military consultant, and a legend in every Black Ops file that mattered. He slammed the beer bottle on the table, leaned in, and grinned. We show them exactly why no one tries this crap with Earth. The Zalnoth's mistake. While Earth's leaders debated, the Zalnoth Dominion remained confident in their victory. After all, the script was predictable. They made demands, a species surrendered, and the cycle repeated. The Zalnoth Supreme Strategist, a towering creature named Vernus, watched Earth's transmissions with mild amusement. The humans were chaotic. There was no fear in their discussions, only an almost reckless confidence. That was unusual. But it didn't matter. A holographic officer approached. Supreme Strategist, shall we deploy the first strike to encourage compliance? Vernus chuckled, his mandibles clicking in amusement. Not yet. Let them squirm for a few more days. It is important they understand the futility of resistance. He turned away, utterly convinced that Earth was already beaten. It was the last mistake he would ever make. Earth's counteroffer. Day 3 of the ultimatum. The Zalnoth received a response. Not from politicians. Not from diplomats. But from Earth itself. The message wasn't a surrender. It wasn't even a negotiation. It was a video. A short, high-definition recording that played on every Zalnoth warship's command deck, overriding their encrypted systems. It showed a single human, Noah Briggs, standing in front of a massive launch bay filled with experimental weaponry. He cracked open another beer, took a swig, smirked at the camera. Then he spoke. You want 80% of our resources? Cute. Here's our counteroffer. Noah turned. Behind him, a series of railgun platforms roared to life. Missiles the size of buses armed themselves. Entire battalions of cybernetic infantry assembled in perfect unison. The camera zoomed out, revealing an entire fleet of human warships rising from the hidden docks beneath Earth's oceans and deep space facilities. Noah faced the camera again, lifted his beer, and toasted. Come and take it. Terror in the Dominion fleet. The Zalnoth officers watching the transmission were speechless. The humans hadn't cowered. They hadn't pleaded. They had laughed. They had prepared. And now they were challenging the Dominion. For the first time in thousands of years, an empire that had never known fear felt it creeping in. This was just the beginning. Earth was done taking threats. And the Zalnoth were about to learn why. The Zalnoth Dominion had never hesitated before. Their fleets had swallowed civilizations whole. Their demands were met without question. Until Earth. Now, as the last echoes of Noah Briggs' message faded from their command decks, A single truth settled over the Dominion fleet like a cold, creeping shadow. They had made a mistake. But the Zalnoth were not known for backing down. No, they would teach humanity the price of defiance. A firestorm over Titan. The first strike came fast. Zalnoth warships repositioned, targeting Titan, Saturn's largest moon, which housed a sprawling human research base. It was a calculated move. Destroying an off-world colony would show Earth just how helpless they were. The Zalnoth fleet commander, Varnak, gave the order. Begin planetary bombardment. Massive plasma cannons lit up the void, streaking toward Titan's surface like divine judgment. The first impact ignited a chain reaction, sending plumes of methane ice into space. Varnak watched with satisfaction. Then his screens went dark. For half a second, silence ruled the bridge. Then chaos. The Dominion ships shuddered violently as explosions erupted inside their own hulls. Warnings screamed across the command deck. Officers scrambled, mandibles clicking in panic. "Admiral, we have breaches across the fleet. Something is inside our ships." Varnak's 4 hearts pounded. "What? We haven't been boarded." Then the security feeds flickered to life and Varnak saw them. Humans. Not soldiers. Not Marines. Miners. Men and women in heavily armored exosuits, welding torches in one hand, shotguns in the other. The research base on Titan? It wasn't just a lab. It was a weapons testing facility. And the scientists stationed there? They were some of Earth's most hardened deep space engineers. The Zalnoth had expected to glass a helpless colony. Instead, they had teleported a squad of battle-hardened lunatics directly into their warships. A bloody boarding party. The lead engineer, Alex Cole, smirked inside his helmet as he watched a group of Zalnoth warriors rush toward him. Their sleek, reptilian bodies moved fast, their plasma rifles raised. Cole lifted his plasma cutter, cranked it to maximum power, and sliced one of the bastards clean in half. The rest of the engineers followed suit. One of them, Danny Alvarez, fired a modified rivet gun, impaling a Zalnoth soldier against the bulkhead. Another, Grayson Locke, tore an enemy apart with a hydraulic-powered punch. Varnak, watching the carnage unfold from his bridge, felt something alien claw into his mind. Fear. Earth's counterattack. While Titan's engineers tore through the Zalnoth fleet from the inside, Earth's military command launched their real response. At first it seemed like nothing. No grand fleet movements. No counter-transmissions. Then, the sun itself flared. For a moment, Varnak thought it was a solar storm. Then the realization struck him. It wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was the Helios Array. A solar-powered railgun platform hidden inside Mercury's orbit, storing unfathomable energy for the sole purpose of planetary defense. And now, it was locked onto the Dominion fleet. The sun speaks. Inside the Zalnoth flagship, an officer screamed, "Admiral, something is coming." Then everything turned white. The Helios Array fired. A lance of raw energy hotter than a star's core, ripped through the void at near light speed. It didn't just hit the Dominion fleet. It erased entire warships from existence. The shockwave sent surviving Zalnoth ships spinning. Hulls melted. Shields collapsed. Admiral Varnak's fleet, once poised to conquer, was in full retreat. But Earth wasn't done yet. The message that broke the Dominion. As the surviving Zalnoth ships scrambled to flee, a new transmission hijacked their systems. Noah Briggs appeared on screen. Behind him, Earth's forces stood ready, warships, orbital defense platforms, ground-based missile silos. Humanity had been prepared for this. Noah raised his beer. Took a slow sip. Then he grinned. "Let me guess," he drawled, "you're reconsidering your offer." The message cut out. And for the first time in their empire's history, the Zalnoth Dominion realized they weren't the predators. They were the prey. The Zalnoth Dominion had never lost before. Their fleets had turned countless civilizations to ash. Their warriors were bred for conquest. Their empire spanned light years. And yet they were running. The surviving warships of the Dominion's first fleet fled like wounded animals, their hulls scorched, their systems crippled. The Helios Array had left them in ruin, their assault shattered before it had even begun. But humanity wasn't done. Because Earth had made a decision. They weren't going to survive the Dominion. They were going to end them. The chase through the stars. Admiral Varnak's claws dug into his command chair as his fleet retreated into deep space. "Faster," he snarled, his mandibles twitching with rage. "Get us out of Sol's gravity well." The remaining Zalnoth ships, less than a third of their original armada, were limping toward FTL range, desperate to escape. But then they saw them. Earth's fleet. Not the lumbering, crude vessels the Zalnoth had expected. No, these ships were fast, slick, predatory. Designed not for defense but for war. The Black Flag Armada. At the forefront of the human pursuit fleet was the USS Revenant, an experimental warship built for deep space ambush tactics. Its hull was painted in a stealth polymer that made it nearly invisible to sensors. It ran cold, weapons primed, like a wolf stalking wounded prey. Target their lead ships, Captain Elias Voss ordered, his voice cold as ice. Disable engines. We're not letting them run. The Revenant's railguns fired. Massive projectiles accelerated to near-light speed. 2 Zalnoth warships erupted in flames, their engines torn apart. More human ships entered the fray. The UNS Concord, the Perseus, the Black Sun. Earth wasn't just chasing the Dominion fleet. They were hunting them. The Zalnoth make their stand. Admiral Varnak refused to die like a coward. Turn the fleet around, he bellowed. We fight. The surviving Zalnoth ships swung around, plasma turrets roaring to life. Energy cannons charged, firing massive volleys at the incoming human warships. For a moment the void burned. Earth's ships weaved between the barrages, moving with unnatural precision. They didn't engage in a direct slugfest like the Zalnoth expected. They danced. They flanked. They ambushed. The Revenant disappeared into the darkness, only to reappear directly behind the Zalnoth command ship, railguns glowing red-hot. Captain Voss smirked. Gotcha. The broadside volley ripped into the Dominion flagship's flank, tearing through armor like paper. Zalnoth officers were sucked into space, their screams lost to the void. Admiral Varnak watched in horror as his bridge erupted in flames. Ground Zero. The battle for Denova 4. The Zalnoth had one hope left. Denova 4. A fortified colony world on the edge of their empire. A stronghold. If they could reach it, they could regroup, muster reinforcements, and launch a counterstrike. They would turn this war back in their favor. Or so they thought. Because Earth already knew. Because humans were already there. As the Zalnoth fleet limped into orbit, they saw a nightmare. The planet's defenses? Disabled. The colony's soldiers? Dead. And in their place? Humans. Elite drop teams had arrived ahead of time. They had hacked the planetary defense grid, infiltrated the fortresses, and eliminated the Zalnoth leadership. Denova 4 wasn't a stronghold anymore. It was a trap. And the Zalnoth had walked straight into it. Welcome to hell. Admiral Varnak's remaining ships hovered above Denova 4. Confused. Terrified. Then the comm channels hissed to life. A single human voice echoed through their ships. Noah Briggs. The same man who had mocked them before. Now his voice was a death sentence. Welcome to hell, he said. Then Earth's fleet opened fire. The Zalnoth had run out of places to hide. Denova 4 had once been a fortress world, the jewel of their outer colonies. Now it was a graveyard. Their last hope had turned to ash before their very eyes. Earth had anticipated everything. From the first failed extortion attempt to the Dominion's desperate retreat, humanity had stayed 3 steps ahead. And now it was time to finish the hunt. The sky burns. The space above Denova 4 was fire. Human railguns, missile barrages, and mass driver cannons ripped through the last of the Dominion warships. Zalnoth cruisers were shredded apart, their crews reduced to panicked, dying screams. But one ship still stood. The Unbroken Wrath, the largest warship in the Dominion's fleet. A dreadnought designed for planetary sieges, bristling with plasma cannons and void shielding. It had survived the ambush, its massive hull tanking the worst of Earth's assault. Admiral Varnak clutched his armrest, his mandibles clenched in fury. This is not over, he growled. We still have firepower. We still have soldiers. But what he didn't have was time. Because they had arrived. The Reapers of Humanity. The USS Revenant materialized out of the darkness, its hull barely reflecting the starlight. It was followed by the Black Flag Armada, a fleet of specialized warships built not for defense, but for extermination. These were not Earth's peacekeepers. These were humanity's reapers. And they had one mission, to end the Zalnoth. The Revenant's last hunt. Captain Elias Voss locked onto the Unbroken Wrath. Target acquired, his weapons officer confirmed. Voss gave a slow grin. Fire. A barrage of hypervelocity slugs tore through the void, impacting the Wrath's shielding. The first volley bounced off, the ship's reinforced hull absorbing the kinetic impact. But then came the second wave. A new kind of weapon. Project Spectre. Humanity's newest war technology, matter destabilization rounds. The slugs hit. The shielding flickered. And then, it failed. The Wrath's fall. Admiral Varnak watched in horror as the Revenant closed in. No. No. The final volley tore through the Wrath's superstructure. Explosions cascaded through the ship, tearing deck after deck into molten slag. And then the core detonated. The Wrath vanished in fire, a miniature sun burning into the void. The last Zalnoth warship was gone. The Dominion had no more fleets. No more power. And Earth stood victorious. Extinction or mercy? A single Zalnoth transmission was intercepted. This is genocide, a Dominion official pleaded, his voice trembling. You have destroyed our fleets, our colonies. Please, we surrender. Noah Briggs, Earth's unofficial voice of war, responded instantly. Oh, now you want to talk? He mused. Funny, I remember you calling us primitives not too long ago. The Zalnoth leader stammered. We were mistaken. Surely we can negotiate. Briggs leaned forward. His next words sealed their fate. No. A single command was given. And the Helios array fired one last time. The end of the Dominion. The Zalnoth homeworld burned. The Helios beam pierced the atmosphere, turning cities to glass, oceans to steam, and strongholds to dust. There would be no retaliation. No second war. The Dominion was gone. Humanity had not just defeated them. They had erased them. A message to the galaxy. A single transmission echoed across the stars. From Earth. From the species that had been underestimated. This is humanity, Briggs said, his voice carried across every open frequency. Let this be a warning to every empire, every dominion, every would-be conqueror. We are not weak. We are not prey. And if you try to take what is ours, you won't live to regret it. Fire, this is just the beginning. If you want more epic battles, more human triumphs, and more stories of Earth's dominance, hit that subscribe button now. Fire.